Yeah, hi all. We are waiting for our guests to join. Just give me a few minutes so that I can connect with them. Cool. Yeah, so one of our guests has joined the live, so I'll just make sure that she's able to come on camera. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening,
Is it
yes.
good morning? Is it good
Good
morning?
morning also, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you? My voice is clear, right?
Yes, I can hear you right.
Yeah, sure. Cool. We have another guest today. She is Anusha. She's a postdoc student, and I'll see if I'm able to find her as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, this Instagram live series is part of our outreach event for Research Scholars Day. So, Research Scholars Day is a 3-day conference coming up in April. So, we are having this Instagram live series as outreach event for the same. So, it's almost like we are nearing the closure of the session, and this is the seventh session we are having, and we are very happy to have you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sure. She is not joining. Okay. So maybe like until she joins, we can start with some of the questions. So yeah, the topic for this conversation was PhD and Prof and work-life balance. So I've seen like you are a woman in PhD coach, right? So I would like to start off with this first question, like how hectic is the life of a researcher, especially being a woman?
As a woman, like how do we find balance between work and life? Let me just
No,
adjust.
how hectic is our life considering being a woman scientist?
Being a woman scientist,
Yeah.
it comes to many aspects. For me, particularly because I got pregnant during my PhD in my second year. Probably I can give a background about myself since audience are new to me and they are not familiar with me. So I'm Chiung-Wei Huang first, and then I'm a PhD student at the University of North Carolina, and I study nanoscience using nanospectroscopy. So I'm at my sixth year now, at my finishing line of PhD. And before that, I have a master degree, bachelor and master degree as well in chemistry in Taiwan. So I'm an immigrant. I moved to America since 2015. That's 6 years ago. And and before that, I actually have worked in a corporate job for like 3 years before I transitioned from industry to academic life again. So return to school. And then, so at that time, about 30 years ago, 30 years old, and then I got pregnant during my second year. So that's when I'm 32. So that's about the time I think about when I want to add a family and then build my family member. So I have pregnant, and then 2 years later, I have my second baby. So overall, almost all my PhD life surrounded in in as a PhD mom and surrounded childhood and just hustling between work, lab, and then my family, and also what I really want to achieve after my PhD, during my PhD, what I can do. And also as a woman and as an immigrant, there's just a lot of challenges and struggles to overcome. So I find myself really have to set boundary to myself between my work and my family and all other stuff, all other passions I wanted to achieve down the road. So to me, finding balance or as a woman even saying as a woman scientist, there are a lot of definition, and that's very personal to each one and very unique because everyone comes from a different background. So I feel like as a woman, there's different challenges and in terms of in the society or in your family background or even in your and also we are physically just fundamentally physically different from a lot of from men. So that's where we I want to promote is that we find our unique self, and then that's how we can really striking for balance between our work and life or life work balance.
Sure, yeah. Being an immigrant, it also it also comes with additional challenges, right? So we'll talk about them as well as we go through the session. So the first thing is, how do you actually choose a professor? Like when you applied for a PhD, then how did you conclude that that is the right place for you?
Hmm. The right place, I feel like it can come to two parts. So first is if you receive offer. If you have like a multiple offer, there's a kind of different challenge you want to set up. And then once you get enrolled in the program in the university, then that's another field of territory because there's just so many faculty options there. So for the first one, I think for my experience, I really my story is I got three offers and then I received my top priority, my first choice of offer. So at that time, I like set my mind on I want to study in that university. But then I got offer invitation of weekend visitation. So that means it usually for students in America. So school university invite prospect students to come to visit their campus. And so prospect student probably will spend a few weeks, so just visiting different university and see where is the best fit. It usually don't involve in international students because the international ticket is just not get it's not getting reimbursed. But I got the email and by mistake they sent it out mistake. So I just will feel like, well, I really want to visit and I can take a day off. So I went there. So I went to my first priority university and feel like, yeah, it feels like a good fit. And I love the environment, the mountain and everything, and the faculty. And then I visit another school. So in North Carolina, this is my home school right now. The second arrived here, I just feel like in love. I love this environment. University UNC is I would say the oldest, the first public school in North Carolina. So it has a history over 117 years old. So all the trees are very old. The building is a very like unique style. So I can kind of see my success in here. And that's how I changed my priority here. So then I think the first advice probably is if you can like economically allowed and physically allowed time allowed and sufficient, probably visit on site is the best advice I can give because that would kind of change your how you feel about if you can see yourself succeed in that environment. And then it comes to when you go really get enrolled in the program, yeah, talk to people. It's a really necessary steps. I remember I talked to three different faculties and sit in their group meeting and trying to understand what all other graduate students are talking about their science. And even though I kind of not understanding a lot, but just trying to feel if again if I can see my success in that lab particularly, and how do I interact with the faculty because the advisor is fundamentally is the most important factor in your PhD life. So how do you feel? How can you really communicate and can you relate to what he is saying, what they are saying? And but at the end, I don't feel I really clicked on either of the three labs until I was reconnected to another faculty member. Her research I didn't really like trigger my interest at the first beginning in the first time. And then, but I just feel, well, maybe why not give it a shot? So I joined their group meeting and talked to her. And then just got like blowing my mind because wow, that's really not what I understand on the surface on the website itself. It just has so much other thing are going on besides their description on website. So I feel like really talk to people and get yourself in the environment is probably the most and would be very successful strategy to choose.
Cool. Actually, in our institute, we don't have a formal rotation program for us to choose. So usually we have a orientation session in which we are allowed to interact with the professor, but it's usually
Hmm.
like a short period, and
Mm.
he or she connects us with the group, and we interact with them, and then we join the lab. So
Mm.
yeah, so it's a little different how things happen here.
So the orientation is that kind of fixed period you have to rotate it. Like I think in bio, particularly in our university, is in biochem category. They have to do rotation, 3 months in a lab and then rotate it out.
Yeah, I have seen that most international PhD programs have three rotations are like compulsory, or like
Mm.
there are minimum number of rotations to complete before choosing the guide. So yeah, I think that's a very good option, and sometime we should recommend this to have this in our institute as well. So let's see.
Yeah, I heard
So
people
now,
are doing that. Hmm.
cool.
And also my husband, he is also a chemist. He studied in another university just half hour away from UNC, and he actually has to do the rotation stuff. So 3 months and 3 months. And I have mixed feeling about it actually. So for people, I think for some people that works really well because if they don't have really necessary a very targeted lab. And for some people, I feel if or she really focus on one specific lab, then the other time on other lab probably would feel more stressful because he might feel like lose the time when doing other research. And I'm trying to think in a positive way to reframe it. I think only skills learned from other lab still can penetrate to your life, PhD life and skill down the road.
Cool.
That's interesting.
So I understand that you are close to completing your PhD, right? So at this point,
Hmm.
when you want to choose a postdoc position, are you already aware of where you want to be, or are you going to start it all over again?
Yeah, sure. That's always an interesting question and always involving answers during this line. For me, I think I want to start with my intention when I get into PhD is not to get involved in academics. So I'm not really particularly in doing a faculty or down the road is tenure track. So I probably are pretty confident that I won't do a postdoc just for that purpose. If there's a postdoc that can increase or boost other experience and gain myself more opportunity, then I can do that. But I'm not doing postdoc for particularly tenure track. And for me, my path is probably would focus on science communication and science writing, this outreach and engagement uh, area because that's where my experience and how I got involved in this activity during my PhD. Yeah, I got involved in science writing since second or third year in my PhD. I just kind of bump into a science communication and writing club on campus that's hosted by graduate students. And they run the blog, and I feel like, wow, this is so interesting. I have never heard of. You can write you can write about about science, and it can be a career. So that's a very like a mind-blowing thing for me. So I tried it on and then get more involved and then get a leadership and get organized stuff and jump on social media in the at first intention is to do science communication. And at the end of it, I feel like this kind of my strength coming from actually. And it the skills I gained in this outreach in science communication actually penetrate and transfer to my research life. So I really involved and get more energized in writing manuscript or writing up a report over the designing experiment or things like that. Like you do this use on your hands. So I feel like a lot of people feel it's so stressful in PhD life because there are just so many rules. Or you have to be a mentor, you have to do experiment, just a lot of things down the road. But for people, you definitely have some strength in some certain area. And that's when we feel we are not enough because there's some area that's kind of in our weaker aspect, not entirely not sufficient, but just a relative comparison. You have a strength in other area and then the other different. And this area might be other people's strength. So that comparison is just not really comparable if you understand, if you know what I'm trying to say. So that fault reference point really give us a lot of stress during PhD. And that's how what I really want to advocate is the reference points you have to choose wisely so you can really expand your strength and while to grow in all area aspects of your life. So yeah, for me, my path is not a professor. If that's most of your audience is trying to get from there, that's not me, but I'm trying to transition my strength and package it to another expert profession.
Cool. So we have a question from the chat. Like when you have multiple options for universities, how to choose? End up choosing one. Specifically from like the context is when we are not able to interact at this level, like having a rotation or having a personal connection or someone. How to do this in a virtual environment? Like from India, when someone applies, the only possible connection is a video chat or email. So how do we do this?
Are you saying when you are already in one specific university, how do you choose the faculty?
No, when we have multiple universities as choices for a similar PhD program, how do we end up choosing one university? Like what factors do we need to consider or think about?
Different universities. Yeah. It's kind of touched on the first point when in the verse like when in the very beginning of our chat, the environment I think is the most important factor. If you don't know that place, maybe talk to people who already live there or really visit there because that's where you are going to live for 5, 6 years long. It's like a really long time. And if you are not happy with that place, then that you are not really happy with your other aspect of life. And then also the faculty, the options of faculty also, I think that most people will focus on this area, the faculty things. And the faculty is not only about what's the research about, the subject of matter. And the subject matter actually can acquire, the interest can be accumulate and be cultivated down the road. And but how the person is real, like the communication comes in the case game. Because also again, this person is how you are gonna work with for your 5, 6 years. And if you don't really connect to each other, then that would be a disaster and there will be take a lot of effort, even takes a lot of effort to try to understand each other. So at the right now, I'm not sure how India is coping with this pandemic. So in America, we are just video all day, and then there's no in-person stuff. But this is the best that we can do to talk to people and connect with people, and also speak to the students in the lab. That's also like a secret there under there because they might tell you something the advisor won't tell you or forget or just have another angle and seeing different things. You can ask people like, how's your research every day look like? Are you coming in the morning and when do you leave? And try to feel that if this is the lifestyle you want to live in the years down the road. So yeah, I feel for me, I think people is the most important factor in choosing everything. I think that's what I learned during PhD. The physical and external things, the subject of matter, it can kind of be cultivated, but the person is really because people are just have different personality and different ways of approaching things. So yeah, people is the in-person stuff is the what I would recommend it on.
Cool. That's like very comprehensive. So we have one more question from the chat. So I have even never thought about this. Like how to identify industries that encourages you to publish in journals. So publishing journals on one end and industries on another end. So are there industries that look for people who publish in journals?
Wait, are you saying how do you publish in industry?
No, usually in industries don't allow us to publish, right? They either want to patent it or want to have it as a secret. So
Yeah.
he's asking, are there any industries who will be interested for people to publish in journals?
Oh, like talking from because you are a PhD student and if people in the industry would be interested in publish.
Yeah.
I think that's talking about so in PhD we have to publish our paper and that's where the publishers comes in. So for chemistry at least there are a bunch of big publishers. So Nature, Science, so everyone knows about that. And then American Chemistry Society, ACS, and Royal Society Chemistry, RSC, and Wiley. And I think there's another smaller one, AIP. So those are actually industrial work. They care about making money, right? So that's kind of the industry line. And so people were definitely interested in people in PhD, so the PhD can work for them. So like for me, I kind of conduct a several informational interview over the past few days. I particularly are interested in scientific journal editor. So they are most of the people in Nature. So they dedicate a position just for editor, and they really require people hold a PhD degree because they have to come in. When the manuscript submitted, they need people to evaluate the novelty and to evaluate when the reviewer comment comes in and do we want to reject or do we want to accept or there's a minor or major revision before publication. So PhD is very valued in the publishing world.
Cool. I just remember one thing like in one of my projects we had two papers published. One was by Google and another was by LinkedIn. So Google actually published something about their marketing strategy or time series prediction, and similarly LinkedIn also published something on A/B testing. So maybe there are some niche areas like where people might be interested, even companies might be interested to publish. Yeah, cool.
I agree. I agree. There are a lot of different position job out there we just cannot see right now. But focus on your niche. It's not a bad thing at all. You might feel, oh, I just go so deep. Who would care? That's a kind of a doubt coming in. But actually, you acquire so many skills on the road when you go this deep. So people will appreciate that skills you acquire, the time management and people management, project management. There's all kinds of things we just don't really see, but people will really appreciate when you have this combination of niche and skills. I appreciate you saying that.
Cool. So, going back to our conversation before, like about your science writing. So, I want you to comment your experience about ComSciCon. So, ComSciCon is like my favorite conferences, and this year I had an opportunity to attend ComSciCon in Virginia chapter.
Mm.
So, I had a great time. So, I would like you to share your experience about ComSciCon.
Mm. Are you an attendee participant this year?
I attended as a participant. Yeah, so I
Okay,
applied
cool.
in India and I was not sure because
Mm-hmm.
usually it's like open to the regional institutes and so
Yeah.
on. So, but I asked for a permission and they allowed me to join.
Yeah, I hope you have a great time because I really enjoy the conference. Yeah,
Yes.
I my first experience is back in 2018, and half a year before that, I already know this conference around, but and I just feel like I probably want to try a little bit before I really attend and sending out the application. So I volunteered to write for the Science Communication and Writing Club on campus. And then I gained some experience and feel, oh, I can do this. And probably I want to go more deep. So I applied for the ComSciCon. And yeah, so that's a very unique experience when people are still can join the in-person conference. So meet people, meet graduate students around the area, and I think some of them I reconnected and find out, oh, we attend in the same conference. So that's a very interesting experience. And so and then the next year I was so inspired and want to get involved in the co-organizing committee. But 2019 I was in maternity leave, so I didn't really apply and join because I knew I would be on leave before the conference and during the conference. So my co-organizing experience is actually happening in after 2019, so 2020. That's last year, and we originally want to do in-person conference, but again, everything was canceled, so that moved to this year. And for this experience, the first time I get as a participant, I think that really gave me a lot of information and also the training. I got to publish my pieces on the Canvas, and that's a publisher I don't necessarily have experience. And now during this experience, I have the opportunity to work with the editor and then they tell me how to really write a pitch, because at first I believe my pitch is not really correlated with my article. So that's a confusing stuff coming in. And then I realized, okay, that's the learning point coming from. And so again, the publishers and then learn about AAAS fellowship. So apparently people are doing the program as a PhD, and then they can transition from PhD to a science writer. So that's a new thing to me. So that conference is really gather a lot of resource for PhD students, and that's a training and resource for students. So I got so inspired and want to get involved and really, because it helped me so much. I also want to give it back to the community. So I applied as a committee member. So that's what happened between last year and this year. And it's also a very fun process. Particularly, you get more involved and get more know each other of the committee. They are your peer graduate students, and try to reach out to speakers, panels, and they are all professional science communicator or professor, and then just kind of get the behind the scenes work. It's really fun and interesting, and that's why I also got inspired again, and then I volunteer as a chair. So I'm going to coordinate the conference for next year, even though I don't know if that in person or remote or probably hybrid. So I highly recommend people in American area, if you have the chance in the local chapter, definitely to apply for that. You don't necessarily have the go on the road. Oh, I want to be a science communicator, professional stuff, but it also really helps you to see things in different angle and get an eyes view and higher level view of your research, and that will really help you to communicate and do your science better, I believe. So hi, we have the
Yeah, so we have Anusha also here. So I think my panel is complete now. So actually, welcome Anusha. So I wanted to start off the session with, usually it's like a talk show. Like we have some fun elements, but I wanted like all three of us to be before starting that. So we had run a few questions on PhD life and about science writing as well. So I think now it's the right time. So
I'm sorry, I got the time difference wrong. This half an hour difference is really confusing for me.
sure, no problem. So I wanted to start off with this section called Weaving a Tale. So I'll just be giving a small prompt, and you could build a story around it. So because today we are talking about PhD and time management and how to have work-life balance. So my prompt is, if you did PhD in time travel, like what all would you go and change about your PhD itself? So this is my prompt. Any one of you can go first.
Does that mean we studied time travel for our PhDs, or we got
That
to
is
time
just,
travel?
yeah, theoretically don't assume that we have all the knowledge to do it, but let's just
You
think
can
that
just do it.
we have done it. And what are all the things you would like to change about your graduate journey, looking back?
That's a very
It's a good
fun
question.
question. I can go and you probably it means that if I can go back when I started my PhD, yeah, I think it's a very fun question. And the first thing jump in my mind are actually not something physical I want to change because, for example, I want to change my university or change my faculty, this kind of stuff. I actually want to, if I can really shake the shoulder of my older self and tell her that you don't necessarily have to spend so much time doubting yourself. I believe because when I first started, I have so many like cultural and language barriers, and that makes me, and also the load from university as a first year, you have to teach, you have to research, and just a lot of things is going on. And I feel like maybe I will be kicked out by the program. I doubt myself so much and have a lot of pressure. And that's probably related to a lot of immigrant students because getting the student visa is the very vital part as you are a student there. If you don't have that from the university, then you are just everything you have before the years before just gone because you are just kicked out by the program. And by the rule and down the road, I just feel, oh, people must be judge me for doing this such things. Why can I not figure out all this research? How does that equipment is going on? I don't know how to do that, but probably it's my fault. The work, the experiment measurement is not really going where I wanted it to be. It's probably my fault. So that's kind of just a connection of me and failing. I feel like it's the most thing I want to fix. If that can be fixable, if the mindset is fixable, so probably I can tell the older self, hey, you don't have to do that. Everything just will go because you learn. And if something is not really going the way you want, it's not your fault. It's just the nature. That's just the life is coming.
Cool. So Anusha,
Yeah.
you could add on
Uh,
here.
I think there's a couple of things, and they're both in the same vein, um, uh, of being kinder to yourself, and I think specifically, I had a lot of things going on in my family, right? You have to. It's 7 years, it's 8 years, it's like so long that you spend doing this, and um, I think keeping a connection with your family, being able to visit for weddings, being able to visit when someone dies, which happened to me multiple times during my PhD. And you just feel guilty for taking time off to take care of yourself and spend time with your family and be with them. And it's really difficult. So I think in the longer term, those are the things that really are important. And you can catch up with the PhD work if it's just a month or two. It's really not that big a deal. Um, so I think, yeah, being kinder that way. And in terms of the PhD itself, I think I I would have told myself to ask for help from multiple people earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are always like, okay, this is my PhD. I have to figure every single thing out and I have to work it all out. But people have been doing these things for ages. And there are other people who can help you and help you figure things out in 10 minutes. Or you can take a workshop and learn a skill that you don't have to struggle 2 years to figure out. I think we all tend to put a lot of expectations, all of our expectations for help on the advisor. But there are so many other people who can help us in other fields. So we should go find, a network of support early on for emotional support, for philosophical support, for technical support. There's like all these things that you need help with, and your one advisor can't help you with all of that. So ask for help early, I think. And get over that ego of like, I have to fix all of this myself.
Good.
Yeah.
I
I totally agree. And I feel I reflect on this thing myself a lot as well. I feel like the word of help really have the weight on ourselves. I don't need help. I don't want help. I should do independently. But probably we have to reframe it as like a connection to people. Hey, this is the
Exactly.
point that you can really talk to people and talk about things, and maybe you can become a friend, better connection.
People love helping.
Yeah, love to talk about things.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, so just to have some background about Anusha, so actually we haven't met before. At least I know her because I follow her on Instagram for quite a long time. So I also met her in another conference, but I really have no idea about you. So I think you should explain specifically about your Nat Geo journey and being a Madrasi girl to being a TED speaker. So I think it's more relevant to all of us watching today.
Yeah, I traveled. My family moved a lot as a kid, but when I was a kid, but I was in Chennai from first to third, and then seventh to like 12th standard, and then I did my bachelor's in Stella Maris in Chennai in zoology. I did my master's in Pondicherry, and then I did my PhD in Stony Brook in New York. Um, and then I did a postdoc in Fairbanks, Alaska, which is like near the Arctic. It's pretty cold. But I did a lot of my field work in South America, in Ecuador, and in the US. So I also spent some time in Switzerland. So I think these experiences have given me a very interesting perspective on ecology and cultures of science in different continents. And I want to come back to India in a few years. So that's my past, present, and future. And now I'm a postdoc at Cornell in their lab of ornithology in New York.
Cool.
Oh, and the Nat Geo journey. So I applied for a National Geographic. It was called a Young Explorers Grant at the time to fund my PhD fieldwork in Ecuador. That was in 2014. And I was lucky enough to get that. And that was really the start of this long relationship with National Geographic. They've been extremely helpful in amplifying our voices of the explorers that they grants to. So I've gotten funding, I've gotten like leadership training, and now I've just been granted another grant to do some of my PhD work. But mainly, like the biggest thing I've been able to do is give a lot of talks, and they've given me a platform to do that, and lots of invites to talks to do that. So that's been really, really, really helpful.
Sure. So actually, when like fixing you two as speakers today, what from my point of view, the observation was like both of you have a PhD journey, but you also have an additional component. She does science writing, and you are into like related to nature, photography, and I even saw some of your artworks related to nature. So how do you feel like how awesome do you feel about this, like being experts in two different things and managing them like flawlessly, maybe with a lot of flaws but still managing it? So how do you feel?
I can't be just a scientist. Like I as I was growing up, I think I didn't know that you had to choose one career track. And I loved acting, and I loved teaching, and I loved all of these other aspects. And I think in academia, very often you're expected to just be the scientist, at least when you come to work, and have just that one identity and leave everyone else in yourself out. But that's very difficult for me, and I can't be happy that way. So like salsa dancing is really important to me, and art is really important to me. I think if I had to just be a scientist, I wouldn't be able to be a scientist. So it's I have to bring all of those other identities and weave them into my life somehow in science.
Yeah, so now I have a question, like if we chose some other profession other than being a scientist, will we have this liberty to have this multiple caps and stuff? Absolutely no, right? At least maybe it's a biased answer, but yeah, I just want to think like that.
If you were something else, could you have
Else
multiple caps?
other than a scientist, would it have been this much easy to wear multiple caps? So, like for example, if I was just in corporate, will I be able to manage all this together?
I feel like it's a personal choices. Some people will really be fine after I have done the day work or a few hours of day work, and I would just go enjoy myself. I don't really put it as a public platform so let everyone know, hey, this is something else work I'm doing, but just keep it to myself and my family. So whether you're a scientist or other professional, I think that's really personal choice. Because I think for me, me and Anisha, and we just really need a variety of things we can engage ourselves with. And that really gives us a fulfillment and a sense of life. But so for some people, it's totally fine when they are just after work, just watch TV, watch a movie, and they are, I think it's just speech. Different person, different definition for pursuing happiness.
I think a lot of scientists also think that within academia, but it doesn't give them everything they need in some ways. And so they leave and go to the corporate world and think that they'll do their 9 to 5 job, but then do science on the side. And so, and be curious on the side and ask questions on the side. And I think that is possible. I don't know what fields exactly or what companies, but there are, I think, a lot of people in the corporate world who, like, wildlife photographers are very often computer professionals in India, software professionals, and then they go do photography on the weekends. Like, yeah, I think it is really a personal preference, like you were saying.
Yeah, and also it depends on environment and how you think yourself and how you think. Because I remember you remind me when I worked in the corporate a few years ago, the 3 years I don't really necessarily have a hobby or other side project going on. I just feel so pressured in the detail. And when the work is going great, then I feel great. When the workload is really heavy, I feel I'm miserable. Even though after work I would watch movie or trying to enjoy myself, but I just didn't feel that way because I think at the time I was just so young to acknowledge there are other possibility out there instead of your daytime work, 9 to 5 job.
Good. Yeah. So, yeah, the next thing is about time management, right? So, both of you have, I think, different perspectives on this. So, I would like to hear because Anusha has a special theory of explaining time management, at least from what I read about her. And I also saw some strategies posted by you as well for time management. So, let's combine both now.
Yeah, I think
you can go first. Yeah.
I can go first. Well, one of the first things was I was always in my PhD. I was always wondering if I was working efficiently or working not enough. I think as an Indian student, very often you start doing the assignments the day before, right? And that just doesn't work in a PhD in the US. Like you have to work on assignments for 3 weeks. So I started feeling like I wasn't doing it right. There was something that I had to change in my work strategy. So I started tracking my time to understand it better. And we do this with money very often. If we have a budget and we plan it and we spend it a certain way, and if we're not spending it right, we track it. So I started doing that with my time, and I wasn't allocating it like I wanted to. So I think even if you don't track it, just think about what you're spending most of your time on. And is it aligning with what your longer term goals kind of should want you to spend time on? Very often we're just pushed by these urgent needs in the everyday, and we're kind of excluding what will help our longer term selves. Like for a PhD student, very often it's writing papers or reading papers. We really push that out of the way and end up responding to immediate emails and checking email all the time. So just think if that's what you're doing and that aligns with your longer term goals, I think is what I would suggest.
Yeah, I will add on that. I kind of learning that on the back way. So at this point, I learned, there's a technique like checking your time and how to align your value with your time. I think I learned the other way because I just started with my very chaotic PhD, new motherhood, and all things I want to pursue as a passion. So I think what really helped me along the way is at some point where I feel so precious, I just try to figure out a way, how do I release this pressure? Is that by simplify things a certain way I do, or I have to negotiate with my husband, hey, you have to take care of the kids. I want to go library and do some work. And then also so it comes to down the road. And then at the point, at first of my PhD, for the first few years, I didn't really have a planner or things like that. to really manage my stuff. I just feel like everything comes in, I need to react immediately. So that's kind of, I think that's the where so like we are so not enough because we are just chasing a lot of things. And then when got pregnant with my second baby, I feel so just so the morning sickness making me so I'm not myself so much. And then at the point I really feel like I need to take care of myself in order to take care of everybody else in the house. So I start to taking bullet journals and then trying to dumping my ideas and what's happening and checking my health. Even though I didn't do it a lot, I think that's the point. I start to recognize tracking this kind of stuff and how to really put things. You don't have to reactively to, like you say, when the email comes in, you don't have necessary to reply it immediately. There's no such thing you have to be like a life threatening stuff. You can put it away and try to manage your time to really focus on like power hour to apply tens of emails and they get it out and they get it done. So this kind of thing. My way is the other way around.
But I think the principles are the same, like consolidating. That's what I learned. You have to consolidate like the tasks that you could prolong for a long time, like emails, you can consolidate them into like a few hours. Or if you have administrative tasks and research tasks, set aside a whole day for research tasks or 2 days in the week for research tasks so that you're not bleeding all of your things into each other.
Yeah, and also just particularly on this email, I think kind of postponed it is giving you some buffer time to how to respond. Because when we immediately want to try to respond, we would write a very long stuff trying to explain what's going on, what's not working. But actually, we just need to get things to move on. So you write your solution probably like a shorter one. Give you some time to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am actually very terrible in time management. Like I don't really follow a schedule or something. I have never done it. So I just write down things on notebook, but I never cross it out. The way I function is like if I have something today, all my energy is focused on only on that. And tomorrow, if I have something else, I focus only on it. So I really have to work on this so-called multitasking or thinking about different things at the same time and stuff. Yeah.
That's not a terrible thing. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
get to where you are now. Can make one whole day about one thing rather than doing 20 things in that day. Like I think maybe
Yeah, but I feel guilty like when I make some people wait like it what even if they like have a very urgent kind of thing just because it doesn't goes into my head. I don't really know how to respond, so I just give it like some more time. Maybe I could just give maybe a follow-up call, like a small conversation, so that it at least makes them feel comfortable during the waiting process. I think maybe I should work on things like that. Yeah.
like I'm thinking about it, I'll get back to you in a day or two. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to like set some specific goals for the day. And if that your goal for the day is that one task, that's totally fine. We can't really do more than 2 or 3 tasks in a day, like really tangible things.
Cool. Then if it's fine, then yeah, there is actually a similar question in the chat. So the question is like, I feel like my research work is going very slow. Is it same for all, or is it very usual to feel like that, or is it just my imagination?
In terms of dissertation, probably Anisha have more experience on it.
Yeah, it always feels slow. I think like it depends on what you're comparing to and what expectations you're setting, right? So like if you look at a journalist, their turnaround is 1 week. They have something to write and they write it and they finish it, they publish it, and they get the validation or the critiquing or anything. It's so fast. Whereas for the dissertation, it's like you work on something, you collect the data, you write it, you submit it, you resubmit it, it gets rejected, you say, it's like 4 or 5 years later, finally your paper is out and you're supposed to celebrate, but you don't know when it's a very long drawn out process. Yes, it almost always feels slow, and that's how the academic world kind of is. But so set your expectations differently, like see what your timelines should realistically be. And I think guilt is one of the most annoying and useless things that we can feel. So try to rephrase that into some constructive kind of framework.
Cool. Yeah, maybe I'll just stick to my like what I'm good at. So maybe that will help in the long run. I will have a better answer at the end of my PhD maybe. So yeah, I had two specific questions related to this PhD and prof. Like we spoke a lot about how to choose a professor and stuff. So now the question is like, what what do professors expect from students? Like when how to like bridge that like how to show them that you are the right person for them. Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, before you take the PhD on, you mean? Before you get into a program?
So even after joining a PhD, like maybe in the beginning, in the early years, like how do you understand your professor's expectations and how to like match the expectations?
I don't think it's easy, and sometimes it takes like 2 or 3 years to start to understand what they want. So personally, after kind of like taking a long time to figure this out in multiple stages of my career, I've another professor in Alaska gave me this mentoring sheet. And so I sent that to my current two co-advisors and I asked them to fill it out, and I filled it out. So it's basically like a structured way to ask them what their expectations are and who should be in charge of different aspects of your work. So like who should initiate grant proposals, who should start writing the manuscript, who is in charge of discussing things with collaborators, can you discuss without involving your advisors? Like there's so many things that are embedded in the culture of that lab that you can't understand unless you ask all those questions, and we're often very scared to ask it, or we don't know the right questions to ask. So I think structuring that conversation early on, and you can take charge of it, like you're going to help yourself succeed and your advisor is there to support you, but they're not thinking about you all the time. So I think you have to take charge of that conversation and try to kind of get them to say what their expectations are and how you should meet those expectations. It's not obvious at all usually.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I also try to take another angle is that we are learning and our professor is probably also on the learning curve, how to manage their student, particularly when they have so many of them. Each student has different personality, probably have using a different language and thought of process. So take that empathy. Your advisor is also learning how to cooperate with you, how to work with you. And also I agree how it's not an easy task because it's evolving and communication is really a very close communication is really particularly have a crucial part in that, and try to check on them periodically as regular as you can. And I have really so like last year I took on a new project and it's at the beginning of a pandemic and there's a new stuff and I feel like the communication is kind of have a gap, but I didn't necessarily what is that. I just kind of follow my thought process and think that's the way I need to do. But after a few conversations, I feel like I probably would be best started with what she is thinking and start with that point because she has a priority for that. I think that makes sense. You start from there and then starting from there, you expand your idea. So at first, or take it early on. Yeah, I agree so much.
Cool. Yeah, so with me and my prof, it was quite easy because before I joined with my prof, I had this, even though I didn't have rotation and stuff, I had a chance of working with him for 1 year. So like more or less we know each other's working style and in terms of expectations. So it was a pretty clear start for me when I joined PhD. So yeah, so again, I'll comment on this once I finish my PhD in a better fashion. So yeah, I would like to ask.
What year are you in right now?
I'm technically in my first year, but I'm not new to the IT environment. So I know this IT environment for 2 years before joining my PhD. So in that sense, it is my third year at this university.
Mm.
So I have a specific question for Anusha. So now you have, as you have been in India and you have also been abroad, so you know like the differences between the working style or even in terms of infrastructure or what kind of support we get. So what do you think are the major differences between these two systems which will influence a PhD student's journey?
Yeah, I've never been a PhD student in India. So I've never done like I mean, I was a master's student and I had a thesis, but um, I know that things have changed in the last 8 or 9 years since I was there. But keeping that in mind, I think there is okay. So I think one of the big cultural differences is like Indians were very much in others' business. We don't really let things go without asking about it or like poking and prodding. And I think that's the complete opposite in the US. Like you keep your professional life mostly separate from your personal life. And the small talk when you're at department events is very superficial in terms of the depth into your personal life. And it depends on how you grew up, obviously, but that can be very difficult for some people. Like suddenly you're not talking about philosophical questions or your personal life or anything to anyone outside your very close friend group. And it took me some time to adjust to that. Another thing is, I think bureaucratically and in terms of the administration, things work very, very differently in India versus other places that I've been. And so it can be much slower in India. It can also be quite slow here in other ways. It just kind of depends on the context and why it's slow. That's changing. Yeah, the expectations, like I was saying for the assignments, I think the expectations for the PhD might be different. And it takes some time to figure out what they are and how to achieve those expectations here. But again, communicating about that with advisors or other senior students or other people in the department is one of the best ways to figure it out and not waste too much time on trying to figure it out yourself. Those are very vague. It's really hard to communicate.
Cool, I get that.
Like it's such a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, the slow thing, I would like to say, like from another like perspective, like an advantage because, for example, if a student goes to US or Europe, so like the time frame is like say 3 to 4 years or something. The expectations are like very quite high, right? So when you join the PhD itself, you are expected to give a result. So maybe you will have only like 10 months or so to do courses and stuff, but when I worked, I actually worked for some time in Singapore. So what I saw is that right from the second year itself, the students start publishing. But here it is not like that as much. It depends on each student. So some students do start publishing in the second year, but some students have the time to cope up with the system and they can publish even in the third year or fourth year. So I think for people who come from like different backgrounds, this slowness actually is an advantage to them because it helps them to take the time to cope up. So this is just my another perspective. It could be right or wrong, but I have seen like it does work with some students. So
I think that's true in Europe, but in the US, you do like a year or two of coursework in your PhD, and you're not expected to start publishing immediately. And your PhD takes like 5 to 6 to 7 years very often. And I started submitting papers in my fourth year, but I didn't get any of them published until I finished from my PhD. So it was pretty slow for me. I mean, ecology takes time also. So I think it depends on the country and it depends on the department also.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Depends on the studies of the field. In chemistry, there are also a variation of how quickly you publish the paper. Some are really quick, like second year, by third year, oh my God, what I'm doing, I'm already fourth year. And then, but just because it depends on your study field.
Yeah, so I have this last section, which is this or that. So maybe we can conclude with this session. So I will give two options. You can tell me like which one you choose and for what reason. So the first one is maths versus methods. So this is like a data versus experiments, that kind of a question. Would you choose something, some work which is only dependent on data, or something which is mostly dependent on experiments?
Like on pre-existing data?
Yeah, so by data, I mean the work is like completely by simulation, or there is no
Oh,
experimental.
theoretical. I would want experiments. But often I do like a theory plus experiment thing and get the best of both.
Okay. So,
I'm not sure about the question. Do we want to like between experiment and theoretical data?
yeah, so will you choose a work or a project which has more of experiments, or will you choose a work which has more of simulation and you handle only with the data aspects?
Okay, that's an interesting question for me because I do both in PhD that involve into, and I would say there's a two different mindsets to think about things. Measurement is interpret and tell about the things that's happening. And for theoretical thing, you kind of have the suspicions about does your model set up correctly? So that's a different process, I would say. And for me, I couldn't choose. I feel like it's a complementary way to interpret your data, and that's all necessary part for science advancement.
Cool. So in my case, it is like I want both. When I'm tired of experiments, I choose to sit at the desk. When I'm tired of the screen, I'm like, okay, I want to do experiments. I want to meet people and that kind of a feeling. Yeah. So the next one is code or create. It's a little kind of similar, but in a different sense. Would you sit and code for building something, or would you actually be willing to? You believe that creating a product will change this world. Where do you think the future lies, in coding or in creating products?
That's a really, I think it's both again. There's so much that like data scientists and computer scientists are contributing to fields like ecology. And I think coding is like able to process huge data sets. There's no other way we could do that. I don't know if, I don't think they're exclusive or independent. Yeah.
Good point. The data science is really on the rise. Machine learning, I feel like everyone in the world are either have some experience on programming, things like that. Probably it's just the basic requirement for our next generation.
Cool. The next one is movies versus web series. I'm not sure if you're a fan of this, but yeah, but still I want to ask, like, movies, or you prefer watching movies or long web series?
I think it depends on the mental state at the time. Um, if I don't have that much time, then it'll be a movie. But
Okay.
usually
Then
I'm binge watching.
Yeah, binge watching is, I like that idea. If time allows,
the
yeah.
thing with the yeah, with web series, it gives me a feeling like I can live with a character for a longer time, maybe, than a short movie. So I will definitely go with web series. Yeah. My next question is, will you be a full-time professional or a freelancing professional? What would you choose to be? Like, you want a full-time 9 to 5 job, or you want to be a freelancer who does different things?
My dream is actually freelancing. I feel like the time flexible. I really love the idea of being flexible. And I would like starting with 9 to 5 job so I learn more skills and so I can build on my stuff on freelancing. That's my goal.
Yeah, I think freelancing, it sounds great, but the uncertainty of it is scary. And so I think the same idea applies to me, that if I can build some stability for some part of my career and then much later maybe do freelancing, it would be, yeah. I mean, I think the perfect kind of mix of things that I want to do don't exist in a 9-to-5 job, and if they did, I would do that.
So it's a very tough choice, right? So
It is.
it's not like we can immediately plunge into the ocean of freelancing. It's very much scary. So yeah. So my last question is, being a science writer or being a speaker? Like what we are doing
Speaker.
right now, speaker.
24/7 speaker.
I love both, but I would take writing a little bit more in my major. I can do like writing a lot and try to get out in the world and talking.
Cool. Maybe in terms of writing, I'm just biased towards writing poems, but yeah. But whenever I
think
read,
because I choose writing because writing can be a legacy to pass down for many years coming. So I feel like, well, this a really good place to invest my time and energy.
yeah, I was about to say is like in those lines, like whenever I read a book, I feel like it's so calm and I can actually feel the energy of the person who has written the book, and it stays with me for quite some time. So it's kind of a little more intense than talking to people. Yeah. So,
Different emotional trigger.
yeah. So with that, I think I do have a lot more questions, but I think our audience is dropping like exponentially. The beginning we had a lot, and because it has crossed 1 hour or 40 minutes, so it's a kind of expected. So yeah, but
Yeah, let's just keep connected. We are online.
yeah. So it was a very interesting conversation today. So I really enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed as well. And I would also like to formally invite you to our Research Scholars Day from April 2 to 4, and please do share with your friends as well. So yeah, thank you once again for joining today.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, I also hope to connect with you both in another opportunity, either at IIT Madras or outside IIT Madras, and yeah, I would like to be in touch.
Yes.
Yeah,
of course. All right. Have a good night or have a good day.
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.